Hi class, Mrs. Christian again. Okay, so for those of you who are stuck on the mark making and the texture boxes still, I'm gonna just give you a quick tutorial on this because I know we didn't have much of a chance in class to go over this. So what you're gonna wanna do is find something that has texture. So I really like this weird little piece of bark that I found. So if you find something, or you could do the cutie too. This has got some interesting, crazy textures in it. But I think I'm going to start with this for now, and then, let you guys get creative and find your own. So it's kind of like a scavenger hunt in the sense that you have to go and look and observe these textures. So it shouldn't be something that you just invent on your head. I don't want to see brick walls unless you're looking at a brick wall. Things like that. So you'll have in your sketchbook or on your pieces of paper, you can just kind of make yourself a little thumbnail square. And I'm going to make sure that you guys can see that. Move this a little closer here. You're going to want to have whatever you're drawing pretty close to you so you can really look at it, really see, what's going on here. And one thing I didn't mention in the last video on composing your still life is I'm going to change these pictures into black and white. That's going to make it easier for you to see the values, the lights and the darks, and same thing when you're hunting for your textures. Either take a picture of it maybe and try to turn it into black and white on your phone and draw it from that, but still have the piece of whatever you're drawing right next to you, or sit right next to it if you can't pick it up and bring it to you. Okay, so you've got a box. And first way I'm going to start is I'm going to pretend that I'm seeing like a real close up here. And so I'm going to first just lay down a bunch of graphite. And normally I would use my just my basic pencil, but because I have my set right here, I'm going to go ahead and grab my ebony pencil because it's going to shade a lot faster for our video. And so I'm just going to start laying down just a base value. So we know that it's dark. It's not light. It's not see-through. It's not reflecting at me. So it's basically going to be dark. And we're going to have dark values behind it. Okay, so I'm pretending that I'm just zooming in on just this area right here. And then it's got all these little points, and it's also got these kind of lines. And when we're drawing textures, we're not trying to... It's not a photograph, so it's not going to look exactly like what you are observing because it's flat versus three-dimensional. So I'm just going to kind of see that I see all of these straight up and down things, whatever they are, in a row, and they're kind of at a diagonal angle, and they're kind of stacked. So I'm just using my pencil, and I'm really just kind of eyeballing it. And then over here where this cuts off, they're a little shorter. So I'm going to make some shorter strokes. And the mark making practice that you did before this was preparing you for this. So when you're looking at creating different marks and you're doing hatching or cross hatching, even stippling, all those are what we use to build into the texture that we're trying to draw. So the tops of these are just kind of like little dots. And at any point I can go in here and I can do a little bit of blending. If you feel like you're not seeing all of the details, it's getting too muddy. So I might go in here and blend, and then it's all about layering. So I want to do more on top of that. So now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to crisp up some of these lines, and I'm going to use the side of my pencil. I'm going to use the top of my pencil, whatever I can do to kind of show this texture. Okay, so I'm going to keep working. And these are meant to be practice. So don't stress out and say, oh my God, it doesn't look exactly like that. Well, no, it can't. It's not a picture of it. Just get as close as you can and what you think you see. And then this one, I think I see right up here where it kind of separates right here, and I'm gonna add these, and then it kind of drops off. And then it gets kind of all these little dots. So stippling with a pencil is usually a nightmare, but it works really good for textures, because if I just want to layer a few of these dots in here where I see, then I can do it right over the top of my shading. And this might be how I would probably tackle something like the cutie, because as you see, the cutie has all of these like little pock marks, these little tiny dots around here. So that would be an excellent candidate for stippling. Okay, so back to this. I'm starting to kind of lose the texture, I think. It's looking kind of dark. So here's where I could maybe go in and I could take my eraser and take the corner of it. And maybe I'm just gonna add a few little highlights to bring some of this out. And you'll see this is not going to look exactly like this object. So I'm not looking for perfection, I'm looking for practice. Because it, just like everybody says, practice doesn't necessarily make perfect, but makes better. Okay, and that's what we're going for, is better. Better than the last time you drew something. And it's all a learning process. So hopefully you're not super stressed out and trying to pull your hair out. The more you do it, the more you practice, the better and easier this is going to be. And that's why I made you do 12 of these versus just one, because just one isn't going to give you what you need. So you can see this is not exactly what I see here. You know, it's not perfect, but it's getting there. And I would keep layering and layering and layering and layering, but I don't want this video to be a million, hours long. So hopefully this helps, and then you can branch off on your own, try some different things. Go outside, find sticks, find rocks, find dirt, just sit down by it and just draw what you think you see. And there is no right or wrong, unless you do this and you draw just hearts and smiley faces and clouds. Then I might say, no, that's not what we're doing. Okay, so hopefully this helps. And like I said, if you have questions, please contact me. I don't know you're struggling unless you tell me, and I can't help if you don't tell me that you're struggling. And there is no shame in saying I don't know how to do something, because you're in a level 1 class. And that is why you're in a level 1 class, because you want to learn how. And so let's work together and we'll get you there so that you understand it, you feel comfortable with it, and then you're ready to rock and roll for your still life. Because on your still life, you're going to have those 3 objects, some of them overlapping. You're going to be adding the values in like we practice with our value scale. But you're also going to have to add in 3 different types of mark making. So that might be your cross hatching, it might be your stippling, it might be, for the mark making practice, it was kind of like a hunt for you to find different ways to create value. So for instance, I could just scribble. Okay, and if I scribble darker, if I scribble all over this, and then in one area I go back in and I scribble more in just this area, and I keep scribbling, scribble, 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 you're gonna see that this side looks much lighter than this side. And I could go down here and I could just keep on scribbling and scribbling and scribbling and scribbling until you can tell that this is the darkest and then this is gonna be the lightest. So it's further apart. Same thing works with stippling. Here's where I will use my Sharpie, because it'll be a little easier to show you this. If I'm going to do a box and I'm going to stipple it. So I'm going to put dots where if I want this to be my darkest, I'm going to put these dots really, 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 really close together. Okay? As close as you can get them without it all turning into one big blob. Okay? And then over here where I want it to be the lightest, so we're going to do light and dark. then here, these will be really spaced out. Okay, and you see how just building up and layering those dots is going to show that this is the darker side and that's the lighter side. Okay, so if you're still doing the mark making, and that's fine, but if you're still doing the mark making, just try to find all sorts of different ways to create marks. It could be repeating the same letter over and over again. So I'm going to go with the letter R. So if I want to make a new mark, this is a mark. I could just keep making R's, repetition, repetition, right? And then keep layering. And this could be one of my mark making. Okay, so I could turn this in as one of my mark making. Or it could be scribbles, or it could be dots. Try to do something that we haven't done in class. So, you know, the hatching and cross hatching and the stippling and the blending, we did that in class. So try to find some different ways, more creative ways to go about making marks. And remember that assignment is 12 mark making and then 12 textures. Okay, so you're going to need 12 textures, 12 different textures, and 12 different mark making. And you can put them in boxes on your sketchbook and then take a picture of that and then send that, or not send it, upload it into the assignment, and that's how you will get your points. If you're still struggling with uploading, remember I did make those 2 videos, the screencast videos showing you how to upload. If you're still stuck, let me know, because I want to make sure that you're comfortable doing that, because that's really how we're going to have to go forward since we're not face-to-face. So hopefully all of this is helping. If you have questions, let me know. All right, have a great night.